I'm joined by the Case of the Week crew of Phil Papour, Jesse Irwin, and the defending champ, Aubrey Henneken. So guys, the question is, do you still think All-Star games are worth having? Jesse, you started off, buddy.
I think they're definitely worth having. I think the whole reason for All-Star games in the beginning of this entire sports history was because kids didn't get the chance to see their favorite players going up against each other. Now we have video games that do that, but we still want to see it. We still want to see guys going up against each other, beating up on each other, not too hard. But that's the issue with the NFL, right? The reason we don't like the Pro Bowl is because they go softly. So the answer to this is to continue having all the other All-Star games, but in the NFL you have a 7-on-7 tournament where there's no risk of getting hurt, but you have a lot of different teams, you have combinations of players, maybe you get divisions involved, but it just makes it more fun because at this point you really can't get any lower than what you've gotten with the Pro Bowl. It's terrible, no one's watching it. I almost threw up watching it personally, and I think that overall it just probably makes sense to try something new.
You watched it? I give you props for that.
Thank you very much. I was paid. But
Phil, it's your turn next. We're going to let the champ go last.
Let the champ go last. Interesting. You know what, I actually would have to agree with Jesse. I think that the Pro Bowl, I think that all of the All-Star games should stay. I think what's really important about the All-Star game is I think it gives the fans, like he said, a chance to see some of their favorite players. But much more than that, it's become more of like a novelty type thing. Like obviously with the NHL All-Star game, you see 29 goals scored. In an NHL, you're used to big hits, players blocking shots, things like that. But it is nice to see the favorite players getting out there, playing against their teammates. Like I know Jonathan Toews was the captain this year, and he made sure he didn't pick Patrick Kane because he wanted to play against them. And I think that's what's fun for the fans to see, that some of their favorite players on their favorite team battling each other. And even though it's not physical and it's not necessarily the most intense game, it is kind of cool to see goal after goal after goal. Like I said with hockey, usually the score is 4-3, 3-1, 2-0, and to see 17-12, I mean, that is something for the fans to kind of look back on, and that is kind of cool.
Okay, but you're saying yourself that it's not that interesting and blah, blah, blah. So then why bother even having them at all? If the players are so worried about getting hurt in these games and they're not playing full out, then what's the point of having them? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the NHL game dropped 14% in ratings in just the past 3 years. So why bother having them?
we can all sit here and we can all agree that Kyle played a lot of video games as a child, right? And through that, we can tell you that Kyle played NFL Street and all those games where you would trade players and want Michael Vick throwing the ball to Plaxico Burress or whoever it might be. But the point is, now you have the chance to see these combinations happen live. And when you get to see that, it's a beautiful thing. And Kyle gets to be happy. And I don't think there's any reason we should stop the Pro Bowl. Yes, it's the only All-Star game that we question year after year. But I think that if you take it away, then you're missing something special about not even necessarily what goes on the field, but maybe what happens on the sideline. Maybe having Antonio Brown have a conversation with Peyton Manning or one of those guys, because friendships start that way. They develop, and then maybe they eventually end up into team trades.
Yeah, but like you guys are totally contradicting yourselves. I know you might want to see it, but then why are the ratings dropping so significantly, especially for the Pro Bowl? I can't even believe how much the Pro Bowl has dropped. People don't care to watch it.
Yeah, then why not just try to change it, right? I mean, there's nowhere you can go. I think if you remove it, somebody's going to be upset somewhere. You know, if you remove it, people could say they're happy. People secretly get a kick out of the Pro Bowl. I think you could agree with that.
Well, I think the thing with the Pro Bowl is now that they moved it out of Hawaii, I know the ratings have dropped, but I think it really is something that bringing it to different cities gives fans in those cities the opportunity to go to the event, and I think that's where it's a lot more fun. I know, at least in Columbus with the NHL All-Star Game, the fans in Columbus really loved the NHL All-Star Game, the skills competition. It was a fun event. And I know that in 2006 when the All-Star Game came to Pittsburgh, I mean, everybody in Pittsburgh wanted to go to the MLB All-Star Game. So I think it's really, for the fans in the city, I think they want to be able to see it continue on.
Well, wait, maybe that's the answer. Before you end, maybe that's the answer. Having a skills competition for football.
All right, this is what we're going to do. I'm not a fan of Pro Bowls. I think the Pro Bowl is garbage. But the NBA All-Star Game is worth having for the skills competition. For the same reason that the NHL is, for the same reason that MLB is. The skills competition are the reason people watch. And Jesse's right. Some people watch just to see their best players play with players they usually don't see. So I'm going to deem the winner Phil and Jesse. Because I think they had the best arguments. And it was... And I agree. I mean, that's what you have to do. It's for the fans. You're not just doing it for the company. Because the fans will have your company grow. Well, that does it here on the Sideline. So join me next week for more information, fun, and of course, sports. So join us next week for more.